Hey there, guys. Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. 30 books in 30 weeks. Today is day 2 of week 5. And as always, I'm having technology issues. Oh gosh. Let's see. See if I can get this camera situated. Okay. I thought I had it situated, and now it's just kind of all over the place. So let me see if I can turn that a little bit. Okay. So anyway, thanks for joining me as you guys are coming into this live stream. Feel free to share it out as we will be discussing one of my favorite subjects, which is healthy boundaries on tonight's video. So 30 books in 30 weeks. This week we're talking about, for week 5, we're talking about boundaries. If you're catching this on the replay, I do thank you for that investment as well. This personal development series is extremely, extremely important to me and to the women that I serve, the community that I serve. So I appreciate you guys as you join me. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Marcy Batiste. I am a public speaker, I'm an author, and what I want more than anything is to help other women shine. And so it's my mission. I mean, it's really truly a mission just to help other women discover and embrace what I call their star power. And so I'm a public, in addition to being a public speaker and author, I have a company called Bankable Success Advisors, which is a leading recovery solutions provider. And through my business, I work with individuals and other companies to help them optimize their emotion, their time, their energy, all of those important investments to help them yield the best return for their investments. And so I'm just excited. I'm excited for you guys to join me as I lead this community of women as they raise the bar and truly, truly embrace that star power that's going to help them lift up and create the lives that they want to live and really improve their life, their love, their relationships, their businesses. I have an amazing group of coaching clients that I'm working with and are raising the bar for the kickoff for 2018 to help them really, really kind of get laser focused on what their goals are. And so 2018, that's what the season is. It's a season to raise the bar and to help 1,000 of these rising stars just really, really shine, let their light shine and help other women allow their lights to shine as well. They refuse to let pain dim it. So to that, one of the important subjects we've been talking about last week was codependency. This week is boundaries as a tool that you can use to actually improve significantly relationships, your love life, even your business relationships. Boundaries are so important because, as you guys have heard me, those of you who follow me know, I talk all the time about how we teach people how to be in relation with us. And understanding that is critical to understanding how to optimize your emotional investments, your time investments, manage the choices that you make, the whole 9 yards. And so boundaries are one of the best ways that I know and that I can testify absolutely 100% work if you do it the right way. And so these personal development videos are all about just providing people with the tools for their toolbox. So hopefully then when a situation comes up, you automatically have a frame of reference, something that you can revert back to, that you can say, you know what, I remember us talking about boundaries, and maybe if I set some boundaries, then things will get better. People will interact with me better. People will be in relation to me better. And, you know, one of the things that prevents people from setting boundaries is being afraid of what other people think. If I could name like the top questions people ask me when we talk about setting boundaries, and as I work with new clients, some of their reservations that they have when we get to the boundary setting series is just that, you know, they want to know, like, will people still like me if I'm, you know, Am I going to be perceived some kind of way? Will they still like me? Will they still respect me? The other thing is they just don't know what a legitimate boundary looks like. So it feels weird when you're used to just interacting and engaging with people at their will and at their discretion. Switching to a place of you being the one that drives the relationship, you being the one that drives the communication and teaches them how you will accept them to be in relation with you, it feels kind of awkward. But man, once you master it, oh, I'm telling you, like, there's nothing like it. One of the other things I always say is that boundaries make them feel selfish. Like, I don't feel comfortable, everything's not all about me, and I don't feel comfortable making it all about me. And for those of you who know me, I'm like, my world, my life, my rules. That's part of my boundaries. Like, I'm completely okay making my world about me. And I encourage you to make your world about you. And when I say that, it doesn't mean to interact or engage with someone in a disrespectful manner. It means to honor the relationship and enter into it with integrity, but still be able to serve your own greater good, because you're responsible for you. I can't be responsible for you. You can't be any more than you can be responsible for me. So boundaries allows us to assume that responsibility. And that's scary for some people because it forces us to, in order to set boundaries, we have to really look at the truth about our situation. We have to look at the truth about how we make choices, how we make time investments, what are our emotional investments, what does all that kind of stuff look like? And then once we discover what that looks like, guess what? You gotta own it. You have to own it. So in order to set healthy boundaries, you kind of have to shine that spotlight on your own mistakes, your own fears, your own flaws, your own failures, and really figure out, okay, this is what's happened to me in the past. And this is, I remember what that felt like. I don't ever want to feel that again. And so what can I put in place that will ensure as much as possible not to have that same negative experience again with multiple people. And so we talk about that in particular with relationships, how people say I keep attracting the same type of guy, I keep attracting the same kind of woman. Well, it's because your boundaries allow that to happen. And so the law of attraction, we attract what we are, not what we want. And so in order for you to get something different, you have to become something different. You want better, you got to do better. And that's really just kind of the basis. And so boundaries really allows you it gives you the freedom. Really, it's about freedom. It gives you the freedom to own your choices and take back control of your life. And if you're someone who's not used to controlling your own life and creating your own destiny, then that can be a really scary thing. But here's what I'll tell you about boundaries. Boundaries will let the good stuff in, and they will let the bad stuff out. It's free flowing, and people can tend to confuse boundaries and walls. So a boundary is designed to protect our heart. It's designed to protect our choices. It's designed to protect our time. So all the things that we determine that we value and that are important to us for our recovery, for our success, then the boundaries we create to protect those things. And instead, what happens oftentimes is people who have suffered a trauma, people have experienced pain in the past, who've experienced betrayals, whether it's in life, business, relationships, you name it, across the board, because it goes every which way. Like in every aspect of your life, you have to have boundaries. Some of them are the same in personal and business, and some of them are very different because of the nature of the relationships in business versus personal. So, you have to be clear about what's the difference between a boundary and a wall. So the boundary is kind of like, I describe it as a picket fence. And so the picket fence, a picket fence actually goes that way. But so a boundary is kind of like this. And so there's room for stuff to flow in and flow out, versus a wall is like this. Nothing's getting in, nothing's getting out. So if you have a whole bunch of toxicity, you've got toxic people behind that wall, that you've never released. You've got toxic experiences. You've got unhealthy relationships. You've got an unhealthy mindset. All of that stuff goes and stays behind that wall until you release it. And so that's why you can't set a wall and call it a boundary. It's not the same thing. A wall is a wall. It's not a boundary. A boundary is, like I was talking about yesterday, that is that invisible property line. So they can't see it, but you can show them, you can guide them. This is where my property line starts and stops. This is what I'll allow in my life. This is what I will allow in interactions with me. This is how you can be in relation to you. And I'll give you guys an example. I dated this guy for a short time several years ago, and we had a disagreement, something very, very, very minor, very minor, like dinner, right? And he said, he started, he was getting upset, he was getting irritated, and so he launched into this tirade about how, he should be the leader of the household. Well, we don't even live together, first of all, so that's a boundary violation right there if you even think that. But he felt he should be treated a certain kind of way, and based on the discussion that we were having about dinner, he didn't feel I was being done, and then he proceeded to call me some names as he got madder. Well, I stopped dating him that day, and I never looked back. Like, that was a boundary violation to me. And to me, if you allow someone to disrespect you, to call you out of your name one time, then they'll do it a second time. If you allow them to do it a second time, they'll do it a third time. And so in the midst of his tirade, I gave him the warning that said, don't talk to me like that. Like, this is what we're not going to do. You will not talk to me that way. I don't disrespect you. I did not expect to be disrespected. Well, he didn't hear the message, apparently, because he continued on with his tirade and calling me all kinds of B's and H's and all kinds of stuff. Told me I was uppity and this, that, and other thing. And you know what I told him? I said, guess what? I'll be all of those things, but I won't be them for you. Good day, sir. And I told him not to call me anymore. I don't want to see you. I don't want to talk to you. And then he called. He did the whole texting, the apologies, and all that sort of stuff. And to this day, it's been several years, probably 6-7 years. I still won't talk to him. And he's reached out to other people who know me and was like, I know I messed up. She won't give me another chance. Da, 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 da. That's not what I do. That's not how my boundaries are set up. We don't do that. We just don't do that. And so even though it's been years later, and, to his point, he's sent inboxes and things, I've changed a lot and I've grown up and I understand I messed up and congratulations, I made you better for the next one, but you will not have the opportunity to treat me that way again, period. And people think that that's really harsh. That's really cut and dry. I've heard people say, well, Marcy, people make mistakes. Calling somebody a B word, that's not a mistake. That's a choice. You chose to call me a bitch. I'm choosing not to be in a relationship with you, period. There's nothing else. And so that's just one example of how committed to your boundaries that you have to be sometimes, that they can't be wishy-washy. You can't be sometimey with them. You can't be like half-heartedly like, oh, this is my boundary, but I'll make an exception over here. Because I guarantee you, if you make an exception over here, you'll make an exception over there and over there and over there. And pretty soon it's like you didn't really have a boundary in the first place. And the same goes in business, in networking circles and things like that. Like, we all have to teach people how to be in relation with us. And we have to decide how we're going to show up. Because like I said, this is about owning you. This is about shining a spotlight on you. So when you set these boundaries, what's that look like for you? What does that say about you and how you show up? Because if you show up in an opposing light to your boundaries, you've just violated your own boundaries. You've told people that you're not serious about that being your character. You're not serious about respect being a value. If I disrespect you, then I'm not serious about respect being one of my values. You understand? Does that make sense? So, boundaries versus walls, like back to the dating, the dating example. So I could have set a boundary then and just said, you know, like, all guys are dogs and I'm not even going to entertain people anymore, blah, 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 blah. But that's not what I wanted for my life. Like, I want the experience of dating. I want the experience of, you know, hanging out with people, going to movies, you know, museums, music, concerts, whatever. Like, I want that part of the experience, but I won't tolerate the other part. And so a wall would have said, I'm just done with dudes in general. All dudes are dogs. Versus a boundary says, you, sir, will not treat me that way, and I will not give you a second chance to treat me that way. And I keep it moving on to the next situation. But that boundary is always the same. I've had people do that to me in my inbox. Will, you know, not get a response that they want and launch into some sort of a tirade. And, you know, people will say, well, what, do you block them? No, I don't block people. I don't change my phone number. I don't block my phone number. And this is why. For you to have my number and have the ability to contact me either through social media or my phone, and every time you contact me and I still don't answer, that's my way of reinforcing my property line. I don't need to block you because my boundaries are sound. I'm A-okay. You can inbox me until the cows come home. I will not respond unless I choose to. And if you've disrespected me, then I'm not going to choose to. And so I don't need to block you. I don't need to, because every time I don't respond and you continue to try, I'm teaching you again. Now, remember that boundary I set? I was serious about that. And if I go back on that, I've taught you that I wasn't serious about my boundary. So that's the message for tonight. Join me the rest of the week. I'm excited about this topic. It's something that I know for a fact changes your life. Once you get clear about your boundaries, who you are, what you stand for, like, it's freedom, because you don't have to put up with the mess. Like, it clears the drama out of your life. And so we're going to talk about what that feels like when you start doing some house cleaning through boundaries. So as always, guys, I thank you for joining me. I see you guys all on here, Jay, Donovan, Joel. I see all of you. I appreciate you guys for joining me, and tune in tomorrow night as we tackle the subject of boundaries one more time, and we will be working on it all week. In the meantime and in between time, guys, as always, thanks for living life on Mars, and I'll talk to you soon.